are going to rock it tonight. How are you, everybody? This is Tony DeAngelo here on PM Coast to Coast. This is the September 29th, 2015 edition, and we got a show for you tonight. I know you're going to like it. We've had so much fun in putting it together. The first person we will have up, we're going to have a baseball hour. You know, those that know me know I'm a big baseball fan, and we're going to be talking to a couple of baseball authors. The first one is going to be Lee Kluck from Wisconsin, who's putting together a book on the amateur history of baseball in Wisconsin. And you think, oh, it sounds like growing potatoes. No, this is a lot of fun because you see a lot coming out of Wisconsin that impacted baseball for ages to come, and we're going to talk about that. We're then going to have some retromercials. You got to see these retromercials. They're absolutely unbelievable. We take so much time in trying to get these things and put them together, and we're laughing like anything when we put them together, but we just hope you laugh as hard as we do. And then we're going to have on later a baseball illustrator, Kevin O'Malley from Baltimore, who's done, with Charlie Vassalero, a really neat book about taking boys and girls to the game of baseball and showing them what baseball was all about. I know me, myself, and I went to a baseball game when I was 6 years old. I really appreciated it, but I had to ask a lot of questions. This book will tell you a lot of the things that you need to be answering if a kid asks you a bunch of questions at a ball game. One of the things Jim Bouton told me a number of years back, Jim Bouton, of course, the Yankee pitcher and the author of Ball 4, is baseball is a game that binds fathers and sons, and that is oh so true. And anything we can do to strengthen family relations in this country, believe me, it's not a laughing matter. We want to do that. Then we're going to have our nonprofit announcements. They're very important to us. If you have a nonprofit thing that's happening, we want you to get that into us so we can get it on the air wherever we may be. You know, who knows? You'll get additional people if you come. We're happy to do that as a public service. We're also going to have our Stanford Trivia Contest for our pals in Stanford. Yes, the prize is free lunch with a $50 limit. And if you would like to get to us at any time during the show and or to answer the Stanford Trivia Contest, we have a Twitter feed at hashtag PM Coast to Coast. That's hashtag PM Coast to Coast. Twitter to me is the little bird flying around the house. This is the handiwork of my fine young producer, Mike Dubois. So after which we're going to have a tribute to Yogi Berra, and when you have the passing of a great one, you have to stop and commemorate his life and say, what did his life mean to us all? We'll also be joined later by the Virginian himself, James Drury. So there's nothing like it when you got a great show list, even better when you got some terrific fans. We are going to be coming right back with author Lee Kluck right after this. The Baseball Hour. See you in a moment.
Hey, Willie, say hey, say who, swinging at the plate, say hey, say who, say Willie, that giant is great.
The history of baseball, to me, is one of the most fascinating things. And when you talk about baseball, a lot of United States history is wrapped up in baseball. One of my friends on Facebook, Bill Hall, was saying that there is very strong evidence, and this is just some little quirky little trivia thing that you might want to say someday if you're sitting at a bar or a game. John F. Kennedy, who was the President of the United States, was intended to be by his father the owner of the Brooklyn Dodgers, because Joe Kennedy, his older brother, was intended to be president, and the patriarch, Joe Kennedy Sr., thought that baseball was an incredible cash cow, which it was and still is for many years. There are so many little historical nuancy things in baseball. This is why I love it so. But with that, in our baseball hour, I have been pleased to meet a young author from Wisconsin, Lee Kluck, whom we have on with us this evening. And Lee, how are you? How's the weather in Wisconsin?
Well, actually, Tony, it's the last vestiges of fall here. We're supposed to get our first freeze tonight. And so, we're all holding on for dear life, but otherwise it's been pretty good. I actually even got out to play a little golf before the snow flies. So.
Wow, that's really something, you know, and I'm familiar with the North. I had a brother one time living in Michigan, and they really were dealing up there with the 9-month winter and the 3-month summer. There wasn't anything in between.
No, absolutely not.
Really, really something, you know, and we're finally getting some rain here in the east, and it's sort of welcome because it doesn't seem to be raining anywhere at all, but we're going to get pelted with it. But anyway, talking about baseball, what originally got you interested in baseball?
Well, I actually come from a baseball family in the local sense. My grandfather comes from a family of 18.
Holy cow.
In a small farming community in north central Wisconsin. And there were 10 boys, and so in the fall of 47, they formed their own baseball team and played at what amounted to a 4-game semi-professional schedule in the local league in and around where they grew up. And grew up with them, those stories, and baseball was a big part of their lives and a big part of my life growing up as I grew older, and so that was sort of how I got interested in the game.
I understand that. Did you have any particular baseball heroes when you were growing up that, guys you really liked watching play?
Well, like I said, I was growing up in Wisconsin, in the mid to late 80s, and, Harvey Wallbangers is a topic that any person of my generation, if they're a baseball fan, will over and over and over again. Obviously Paul Molitor and Rob Young, Cecil Cooper. I was always partial to pitching, so I was a huge State and Guerra fan growing up because I'm left-handed. Those were sort of the guys that I loved to watch.
I loved watching that team. I really did. They were so much fun. I mean, Jim Gantner always got his uniform dirty, and no one could argue like Harvey King coming out with the chaw, and he put his hands in his pockets and he'd give the umpire a look that literally, if looks could kill, this was one of them. It was absolutely unbelievable. And I often chuckle when I think about Gorman Thomas, who was your classic Sinatra hitter, all or nothing at all.
Absolutely. He ingratiated himself to people here, I think, because he sort of embodied this slow pitch softball mentality.
He really did.
I'm going to just go out and I'm going to swing for the fences and I'm going to, smoke a cigarette and drink about 100 beers after the game and everything, and so I'm going to play hard when it's time to play hard. And I think a lot of people up here, just like I said, just identified with that. Very blue collar and Wisconsin.
That really was a whole lot of fun, and the game was really fun to watch then. One of the things that had caught me, I was reading your written works, which you had so kindly submitted. You have a particular story about your own life and physical well-being that has a large bearing on your wanting to write a book about Sandlot baseball. Would you care to share that with us?
Yeah, I had a heart attack at 28.
Holy cow.
I was getting a master's degree in history from the University of Wisconsin-Eau Claire, and I was halfway through the program, when I suffered a major heart attack, brought on by stress and some poor family history, and then being in graduate school where you don't sleep and you eat bad food and, probably drink more than you should. That being said, when I couldn't, I like to play golf and I like to get out and do those types of things, and I couldn't do that for the better part of the summer. And so I hooked on with this local, they play in what's called the Badger Amateur Baseball Association, this local team that was made up of largely guys I went to high school with. I was lucky enough to go to a high school where baseball, they feature one of the best small school programs in the state. And hooked on as their public address announcer. I worked in radio, and it got me thinking about, my great uncles and amateur baseball in general in the state.
Interesting.
I, like a lot of people, was of the firm belief that this didn't exist anymore. That ESPN and the proliferation of minor league baseball and, the ability to watch any game that you wanted had basically killed amateur baseball, semi-pro baseball.
Right.
And what I found was that it didn't die so much as it evolved. So I wanted to try to track that evolution.
I understand. And, when you think of Wisconsin, however, the first thing that comes to mind for me is the Green Bay Packers. I mean, yeah, okay, the Milwaukee Brewers, but still the Green Bay Packers. I think this is a football hotbed. Wisconsin really in many ways is a baseball state from what you have found out through your life and through your most recent work.
Yeah. I think the thing is that, yes, it is a football state. It is the Packers. In fact, you can only tell whether the Brewers are doing well or not in the standings because people will just, if they're not, people start talking Packer football about the 1st of May. And they talk it all the way through October.
Right.
Through the winter until some training starts. What I found, though, is that, every little crossroads community in the state of Wisconsin, they had these leagues. And they had leagues for every level of player. The big ones up here were the county leagues. If you were the Crestwell Academy, who was a big-time player here, outside of the city, you played in the county league. If you were in a city like Milwaukee or Madison, then you played in an industrial league, which, when you got on to that level, was very, very competitive. Featured ex-professionals, future professionals. Tony Kubek played sandlot baseball, then played in the county fair in the industrial league in Milwaukee for a little bit. Tom Metcalf, who pitched for the Yankees, he told me a story where he pitched as a high school student under an assumed name.
It went on.
in the county league. It's one of these things where and was paid basically, people were just stuffing money in his pocket because he won this game. So those types of things. The semi-pro program in Wisconsin in the 60s was sort of coming out party for a lot of pro prospects. I talked to Roland Heeman, who was the general manager of the White Sox for years, and was also the assistant scouting director for the Milwaukee Braves. He loved it. They would have the state semi-pro tournament at County Stadium and get the runners delivered as far as the pro prospects in the state were concerned.
It's it's funny. I am a native of Stamford, Connecticut, which is one of Connecticut's largest cities. It's for those people not familiar with Connecticut, it's 35 miles. The center of it is 35 miles from New York, and it is well known that the St. Louis Cardinals twice in 1938, if I've got the years right, if not, I'm sure my friends will correct me, and in 1946, on an off day going between Braves Field in Boston and Ebbets Field in Brooklyn would come to Stamford. Actually, they came to Stamford twice, and they played the Stamford Town team of Team of All-Stars. One time they were beaten by the Stamford Team of All-Stars, but it was kind of like the Cardinals were rushing to make a train, so they just started flagging the pitches just so they can get on the train and go to Brooklyn and play the Dodgers.
Yeah.
But this was more commonplace than not, and that's the amazing thing to me.
Now, one of the that happened up here too. One of the semi-pro teams in Wisconsin that was really good in the early 50s was a team out of Merrill, Wisconsin, which is about an hour from where I live in Stevens Point.
I see.
2.5 hours from Madison. And they played the Eau Claire Bears, which at the time featured Joe Torre and Bob Uecker.
Holy, yeah.
Eau Claire was the Class B program, the Class B team in the Wisconsin State League, or the Northern League at the time. So those types of things happen more often than you think, for professional teams, whether they be major or minor leagues, to play your local town team.
Now, when you're doing this study of Sandlot baseball going back years and years and years and years in the state of Wisconsin, does this bring you to libraries, historical societies, attics, newspaper clippings, you name it? Have you started on a quest for finding out newspaper accounts, say, of games that took place way back when, and what may have happened? I'm just curious.
Yeah, no, as far as the research process, like I said, not to say that anyone can't do it, because anyone really can if you have the time and the patience.
Sure.
But one of the things that I'm taught as a trained professional historian is you basically mine anything you can think of. So I started with, there's a lot of different services that have newspaper articles online. I'm a member of the Society for American Baseball Research.
Oh, God bless you guys. You do great work.
Sporting news. There are plenty of local newspapers. And then I expanded out. I'm like, okay, part of the thing of writing a book on any subject is reading whatever's been published about that subject previously.
Mm-hmm. I see.
So I've read a lot of secondary source information. Baseball, A People's Game by Harold Seymour and his wife Dorothy, and then started from there. And then it's game accounts and really narrowing down your topic. I wanted to cover who started this sort of home talent movement in Wisconsin. Who are the big figures? And what are some of the great teams? I wanted to write about that. And then I wanted to write a little bit about the state tournament. So that sort of helps you find ways to attack the research. And then you find out that I got a chance to interview people that you would think would never have ties to the state of Wisconsin, much less baseball in it.
Yeah, for certain. For certain, and really the sad thing is, as time goes on, there's some marvelous resources you can look at online and newspapers that have been digitized and all that. And, when I'm hanging around by myself on a weekend or something, I can just get so lost in that particular material, it's unbelievable. But I tell a story, and I don't know if this is apocryphal or not. I was the youngest member of the 1972 Connecticut team in Stamford, Connecticut that was in the Stan Musial World Tournament in Michigan. I played one game that year, and yeah, you can look it up. I'm in a box score. That said, I think I struck out and I lined out. I might have had one chance in the field. We were in the tournament in Michigan. My memory tells me that the host team had Brad Van Pelt, you know, the great Michigan athlete who later became a New York Giant linebacker. But he couldn't play in the tournament because he was a rookie in Giant camp. And no one whom I speak to really seems to remember that. I mean, we're all kind of getting on in years, and I'm thinking one of these days I have to go back to Battle Creek and read those newspapers, for crying out loud. But, you know, something like that I chuckle about. You know, would the tournament have been different if Brad Van Pelt had played? You know, God bless him, he's deceased now. But there's so many little things like that that could literally drive you up a wall or into fascination.
Oh yeah, the what-if game is a lot of fun, and it's a lot of fun in baseball especially, so it's definitely understandable.
Yeah, you know, it's like you think of the 1951 playoff where Bobby Thompson hit the home run, and Branca and Carl Erskine are in the bullpen, and the manager, Dressen, called out and said, who do we bring in? The pitching coach said, bring in Branca. Erskine just dropped a curveball. We threw a curveball in the dirt, and Erskine walked around for years saying, best curve I ever threw. That's absolutely unbelievable. But
no, it's really, the game is, you know, my hope with my work a lot of times, no matter what it is, and I write about, you know, I write about major league topics as well when I get the opportunity, is that I think with local baseball, especially and baseball in general, there are so many stories that are worth sharing. And that, for me, I think the thing is to get people interested in the game, and the history of the game, and also the history of the game in their community. Because it was such a popular sport, and it's played in so many different places. And, you know, so that's the fun thing for me, is to talk it and to listen about it and absorb those types of stories. So.
Well, you know, it's absolutely unbelievable, and believe it or not, we're running out of time. In our last minute together, can you tell our viewers and listeners where they can find you, the projects you're working on, and what we can look forward to seeing from you in the days to come, Lee?
I'm sorry, what?
Oh, in our last minute together, can you tell us where you can be found on the internet or with a mailing address and what you're working on?
Yeah, no, I can, I'm just starting to get sort of an internet presence. So if you want to read, if you want to follow me directly, I have a Twitter, and it's LCK in SP, and that would be a good place to follow me online for right now. Like I said, I'm just starting to get some of this stuff ironed out. And if you want to read some of my work, the best place to look would be under my name, Lee Cluck, in the Sabre Society for American Baseball Research project, and also their biography project.
Fantastic. Listen, thank you for spending some time with us tonight here on Coast to Coast, Lee, and continued success, and I'm sure we'll be talking soon.
All right, well, thank you very much for the time, Tony, and I hope you're listening to enjoy it.
Thanks so much. That was Lee Cluck, ladies and gentlemen, baseball author, talking about baseball in Wisconsin and the other projects that he is involved with. So with that, we're going to be coming back with a few of these retromercials. And we got, I forget her name, but life is a ball game, and there's ups and downs, and that ball bounces round and round. We'll be bouncing right back to you right after this. In our baseball hour, we were so blessed to be with Lee Cluck talking about his particular work in baseball, and these two gentlemen, one of whom is joining us tonight, Charlie Vassalero and Kevin McNally, Kevin O'Malley, I'm sorry. I keep thinking of the Oriole left-hander, and I have to apologize. Put together a really neat book on children's baseball, or having a child watch a game, with some really neat illustrations. A lot of this particular book really kind of brings you back in nostalgia as to perhaps how you played baseball as a kid. If you were my age, maybe the bucket was second base. Maybe you stuck your little brother out in right field who couldn't hit, couldn't field, but just wanted to be with the older kids. And just really when baseball really was the national pastime. And it really was a heart-touching experience to go through the materials. And I'm very pleased to be joined by Kevin tonight. And you're in Baltimore.
You're kind, sir. That's very nice.
Oh, well, no, you're welcome. You're in Baltimore?
I live in Baltimore. You want to rain delay? They postponed the game tonight. Not that the Orioles have much chance, but we're still a 6-6 out. That's not too far.
Yeah, you know, and I guess, are you Baltimore born and raised?
No, I was raised in Philadelphia, so I also have the Phillies to cry over. This year we're not doing very well on the East Coast. Charlie is a big Met fan, so he's all dancing right now. Which is a beautiful thing if you're a Met fan.
I'll tell
10 years, that's not so bad.
Yeah, no, it really is.
You're back in.
My first recollection of watching a Philly game was in the late 1960s, and there was this fellow that came to the plate against the Mets, number 15. Back then he was Richie Allen, and Don Cardwell threw a pitch that Richie Allen hit over the Coke sign at Connie Mack Stadium. I think it's probably still in orbit. I've never seen a ball hit.
Richie Allen could do that. Oh no, he did it all the time. There were great stories when he came back to the Phillies, I think it was some sort of, the clubhouse attendant was the bat boy at one time, and Allen, when he first played for the Phillies, gave him a bat when he was the bat boy. And when Allen he arrived again in Philadelphia, they didn't have a bat for him. He carried some big lumber. And the guy ran home to his house and got the bat and gave it to him. And he played with that bat.
It's amazing, and well, you know, and he hits the home run, and everybody's booing, and like Willie
That's Philly, you know.
Willie Stargell would say, you know, it's like.
I grew up going to Vet Stadium, and my first experience is why we wrote this book. We wanted to do a book that engaged the kid at the game. Our dream is to, in a manner, replace the bobbleheads. We'd love to see 20,000 kids get these and work a book. There's scorekeeping in it, there's trivia, there's what's the distance to first base, and there's simple questions. Is it 1 inch, 1 mile, 1,000 miles, or 90 feet? So that parents and kids can engage at the game. Because baseball is the greatest game in the world. You go out and there's nothing like going through the tunnel when you go to a baseball park. And it opens up to the bluest sky you ever saw. The greenest grass. As an artist, I just can't get over how much I enjoy the environment of a ballpark.
I'm just.
That stadium was my first, so I was in the top deck on the opening day of that stadium with my brothers, 3 brothers, my dad, and a guy was saying that they were launching cannons to open the park. And the guy in front of my brother said, "One more shot like that, and the whole place is going to fall down." My brother started to cry. My dad had to console the guy. But we were so high up, I had never been that high in my life. That space in my life, to be such extraordinary space stadiums are. They're wonderful. Baseball for that is just wonderful.
You know, and you call to mind a story with me now. I went to the Met game, or one of the first Met games when they started in 1962 at the Polo Grounds, and then I went again in 1963. And I remember the games pretty well. I was 6 years old, 7 years old, but I was sitting at the game. My brother is to my right, my father is to my left, and behind us there are 2 military men. Now, I swear to God this happened, Kevin. And the older man was in an army uniform, very highly decorated, probably served in the Second World War. And next to him was a sailor, a younger man in his white uniform with a sailor hat. And something wasn't right about this. because I knew that enlisted men and officers didn't hang out together, much less from different services. So I looked again, and where the older man was sitting and where the younger man was sitting, the older man's right hand and the younger man's left hand were joined by handcuffs. And I'm saying, this looks very odd to me.
I don't know what happened. What only happened in Philadelphia.
Well, anyway, I elbowed my father. I said, "Dad, look, the sailors in handcuffs." And the officer, the Army officer, heard me, took a prize out of his Cracker Jack box, gave it to me, and shot down the left field line. So it could have been the Manhattan Project for all I know, for crying out loud. But I can remember that. But don't ask me my wife's birthday.
Doesn't it? You go to games and it changes your sensibility. There's all sorts of experiences you can have at the ballpark. But the best part for me is the congeniality of the crowd. I love stadiums. I like the crowd of baseball more than any other sporting event. You sit there and you talk and you watch.
Yeah.
And you engage. It's a beautiful experience.
Well, and your cares leave you for the 2 hours or 3 hours or whatever. But let's talk about the book. What caused you now? Now, this is a book for parents and children. I had mentioned at the top of the broadcast that a couple of years back we had interviewed Jim Bouton, and one of the things that Jim Bouton said very clearly is baseball is a game that binds fathers and sons. And
mothers to sons and mothers to daughters. 43% of the people who go to minor league baseball games are women. I mean, it is a beautiful experience for everybody to go to a ballpark. To play the game, certainly, that one is a given. That one's a given. I grew up with a dad who threw a baseball with me, that kind of thing.
Right.
It's beautiful. But this book tries to get to everybody. It's an education, but it's also a laugh. Did you know the story about the man who was going to steal second base? He put his dentures in his back pocket and he stole second. He's the only man talked out of the game for biting himself in the butt. It's in the book. It's in the book. So imagine a kid sitting there reading butt by himself and not laughing, showing it to his father, showing it to his mother. Everybody laughs at that story.
It's amazing.
It's a book that way. I mean, it's full of everything that kind of makes it fun, to go to a game. And it keeps you occupied. You put down your darn cell phone. And you have to talk to people. You have to ask, what's the capacity of Yankee Stadium? Any idea?
You're asking me. I'm going to say four.
But the idea is that
right.
So you can go and you ask an usher, what's the capacity here? And you write it down. It's a memoir. It's a diary of your experience at the ballpark.
You
like lingo.
Yeah, for certain. And the in doing this now let me. I live in. Connecticut is my home state. I've lived here most of my life. Baseball in my generation was you got up, you played from sun up till sundown.
Yeah.
When it got late at night, you turned the TV on, you watched, like back then it was unlimited Met and Yankee games, over the air, free TV. And now, I drive along here. I'm in the, what they call the quiet corner, northeastern Connecticut. I drive by empty ball fields, Kevin, on Saturdays. Like, why aren't these kids playing? Is baseball in danger of losing its youth?
Well, the commissioner has certainly talked about it. The average age of the viewer of the World Series, they say, is 53 years old. There's a lot of reasons why they're not watching the game maybe the way they should, or when they could. There's many other options for them. There's parental oversight that limits them playing on their own. I mean, one of the great parts of a pickup game is going out and making the situation work. If there was a jerk on the team, he didn't play with you the next time. You made little games. You made 3-on-3. You made 4-on-4. You made up pink ball games or wiffle ball games or stick ball games.
Well, you
That's
know,
an interesting argument by itself.
it's interesting that you mentioned soccer because when I came back up north this afternoon, I had taken my wife to an appointment. I had driven to my post office. We have one of these little rural post offices, so I have to get in the car and go. And you know, it's not like I go to the end of the driveway to get my mail. It's like I go to the other end of the town to get my mail. With that, yeah, and I had to pass a couple of prep schools before I actually went back to where my wife was. And everybody's out playing soccer. I mean, the fields are full of soccer players, and I'm saying to myself, you know, it's that question we asked years ago, is baseball dead? I mean, I sure hope not.
No, baseball, if you go to a minor league, any minor league park, they're doing great business. People come out there, they see it. Now, whether people are playing it is another thing. But I think there'll always be baseball players. There'll always be kids. They're training them a little bit harder. And compared to, if you look at the Premier League in English soccer, they train them from an early age. They're club teams that
Right.
teach soccer. Baseball doesn't have that. It has a curious system of little leagues to, I don't know what's next, Pony League, Connie Max, high school ball, college ball. But it doesn't quite have the same thing. So they're organizing it a bit more now. I don't know if this is a good or a bad thing, because I believe personally the best part of baseball, from growing up playing, is the socialization. Is the ability to understand what's happening without a parent involved. And you made arrangements to work out what a home run was. And you agreed there was a ghost on second. Agreed that the ghost couldn't steal. It's a simple rule. The ghost can't steal. And kids don't do that game anymore. But I do know they do a lot of different games. I do know they do it. They make up their own games to this day. We often underestimate the cleverness of the next generation. Criticize it.
Now,
But I think it's just different. So what we try to do with this book is to encourage people who like the game to get their kids to go with them to the game, or when they go to the game, to look at the thing, look around, to observe, to pay attention. You don't have to watch every ball and strike, but now you know what it looks like on the scoreboard, so you can say, okay, 3-2 count, okay, got it. It shows those kinds of things, and I don't know that any of us can protect baseball. You know, there's no stopping what's coming.
right.
But we can try some ways to talk it up without being terribly nostalgic.
You were so kind to send me some really neat artwork, and Mike will show a couple.
Talk to my wife about that.
Mike will show a couple of the slides if we're so able. But I noticed that you seem to have a how can I put it? You seem to get into the crowd and sort of describe what's happening, in addition to drawing out like the old parks like Fenway and Wrigley.
Charlie Battolero is the writer. He's a sports junkie, sports writer, sports junkie. And I think Charlie knows every World Series winner and who lost. He's that kind of guy. And when I met him about 10 years ago, we liked each other. We were friends, you know, and we were baseball kids. And Charlie keeps a scorebook every game he's ever gone to. How crazy is that? But it's not as crazy as me, because
I've known people.
I give drawings to people that are around me, and we laugh, and we joke, and we pick on each other, and we mock. And we decided to make a book, because both of us love it for the same reason. We both carry transistor radios when we travel. We found that out later as we started to sell truck movies.
Oh, I can relate. I really
Pulling
can.
out the aerial is a lovely thing to do when you're sitting in a park somewhere and listening to the game. Yeah.
Well, I can remember.
Do kids do that? I know many kids. I've met many kids who do that. Whether their father did it, or their grandfather did it, and they value it. Now that's something we shouldn't lose. You know, there should always be baseball on the radio.
I can remember going to the outside of Yankee Stadium, and this is the one true Yankee Stadium, not the baseball mall of today. And staring up at, and staring up at the outside, and there was a digital clock outside that was lit with light bulbs saying official Yankee time, whatever it happened to be. Juan Jeans, the official timekeeper of Major League Baseball, and I asked my father, "Can I have a Juan Jeans watch?" But I can't afford one. But I'll tell you, you're right, it stayed with me.
Yeah, there's all sorts. So when I drew the pictures, I've done a lot of A
Well,
wonderful book called Big Hair and Plastic Grass, if you've not read it. It's about growing up with 70s baseball. AstroTurf and big hair. Oscar Gamble tried to put a helmet on his giant afro. It's a very good book. But Charlie and I have been going around this book now for, I don't know how long. We've been chasing a lot of different ways to work together. And it was interesting when we came up with this. And he gave me plastic grass and he said, "Do you think you should draw him like this?" No, Charlie, I cannot draw Oscar Gamble with a giant afro. So we settled on this look. There's another thing you should never do, be an artist. Don't ever be an artist. But sometimes they ask you to draw architecture. And look at the illustrations in that book. Oh my heavens, I had a horrible time drawing camping yards. I'm not an architectural writer.
no, I can understand that.
Trying to draw crowds.
Well, you know, as far as like youth baseball today now, I am not a father. And I'll drive by the town Little League field and I'll see it. Well, this year, because of all the snow, they got a late jump, so I think they started in May. Season's over by like June 30th, and I'm saying to myself, what's going on here? And like, what are your thoughts on Little League? I mean, is that part of the problem?
I coached for 8 years. I was the coach or assistant coach or head coach of my son's teams. And the leagues are functioning. There's many and varied leagues that kids do go out for baseball. They're being competed with there are spring soccer and there's spring lacrosse in Baltimore, so that's a big draw.
Right.
So they're competing with those other kinds of events. Baseball, to me, the biggest problem is this time-driven society that we think we live in, as if it was somehow different in the past. They like it, things end in a given amount of time. They struggle when an extra innings or a long game or too many runs.
Mm-hmm.
160 minutes. They want to be done. You know, the parents are coming there and they would rather have their kid play a game that's something organized to 60 minutes. And I've definitely seen that, kids who, but on the whole, the kids who want to play baseball, they love baseball. We grew up here with Cal Ripken, or my kids did, and Cal Ripken saved the Orioles in so many ways.
No doubt, no doubt.
Loved Cal Ripken, and that drove them to the park. And my son works for the Aberdeen Ironbirds now in sports management with them. He loves the game, but so the kids would show up that like soccer, or like lacrosse, but there were many kids that like baseball. And now that we have a whole nother, the Southwest is full of people from let's just call it the South, from the Dominicans, who want to play baseball. You know, baseball is not going anywhere. I think it's doing very well, actually. I think the money is there, but maybe television revenues. Don't know. We'll see what happens when they run out of players. When do you think that'll happen?
Well, you know, I've been cheering for years with the opening up of Cuba, and I've always felt that the best ball players are there, but we shall see. I mean, it's a question.
It's a question. I don't want to be too negative because I visit a lot of schools, and I think kids are good today. I think they're doing fun. I really do like what I see. I do wish I saw more kids playing the games that I remember playing.
I agree.
You know, but I don't think they're not playing games. I don't think they're sitting in front of video games unless their parents don't want them going out of the house because they're stranger danger problems or something like that. You know, they might fear that. One of the greatest parts is calling your friends. When I was a kid, is calling my friends and saying, meet at 2 o'clock. Meet at 2. Everybody called everybody. And then we would go to a park. And we would make up a game. If there were so many people, you know, you can't hit the left field. Everybody's got pulling, you know, everybody's got to do this or that with the ball. And there were no parents involved. If the pitcher threw too fast, we pulled him out. If he hit 2 people, you're done.
Right.
We want to see hits here. We want to see people hitting the ball. We want to see fielders active. We want to see it moving. So that's the way we played it.
I understand.
Kids still play games.
Us too.
Well, they do. I don't think they're as
Well,
lazy as we think they are.
in our
Baseball. My son played tape ball. I learned to ball up newspaper and wrap it in masking tape, and we would use web ball bat. And so I showed my kids this game, and the neighbor I live in that row house community across the alley, the man up on his ladder at his house, 4 stories up, and he's reaching in, and he holds up 2 tape balls. They were as big as baseball. I said, okay, no more tape balls.
it really grips something inside you.
It's a ping pong ball. But they were doing it their entire lives. They would
Oh, stickball in New York.
Variations on it.
Kevin, in our closing minute, and I'm sorry, time always gets away from us.
Wait a minute, I gotta do this. If you're interested in looking for the book, it's called fanscompanion.com. You can buy a book, it's $10. I am the guy who puts the stamps on them and mails them out. I'd be delighted. Anybody want to take a look at it?
Thank you for doing that, because that's what I was going to ask you, where to find the book. And
there you go. There you go.
It's
if you want to look up Kevin O'Malley, he writes and illustrates children's books.
yeah, and you can find them through this show too. Kevin, thanks so much for spending some time with us.
Oh, it's a pleasure talking with you. Thank you very much for asking me.
Our pleasure. Take care. Bye now.
Bye-bye.
And that was baseball illustrator and old-time baseball player and fan Kevin O'Malley. We're going to jump out for a commercial and come back to you with our non-profit announcement. All summer long, it's over, folks. We're in fall. See you in a moment. As a public service of Coast to Coast, we are pleased to announce nonprofit announcements. Always message if you have a nonprofit event, because we'd love to get that on the air for you, especially for our great fans and friends. First announcement is the Stanford Epilepsy Support Group meets on the second Thursday of each month. Anyone who has epilepsy or has family or friends with epilepsy is welcome to attend. 7 o'clock, 8:30 p.m. at the Government Center in Stamford, Connecticut. ID for building security is needed if you attend. From my pal, Pat Arpaio in Stamford, Connecticut. Pat was one of my good high school buddies. There is a fundraising event to benefit Stanford education for the numeral 4 autism. It's a live concert on October 17th, 7 o'clock p.m. at the Palace Theater in Stamford. The band is Beginnings, a tribute to the music of Chicago. That sounds like fun. Tickets are available at the Palace Theater box office, 203-325-4466, or online at www.scalive.org. Doors open 6 o'clock for the silent auction, mystery bags, and the Absolutely Photo booth. Donations of merchandise such as gift cards, gift baskets for the silent auction are appreciated. Call me if you'd like to make a donation. I'll put you in touch with Pat. With that, we'll be coming back with our trivia contest. Get your pens and pencils out because free lunch awaits you. We'll be right back. We got the disco thing going tonight. It's unbelievable. Anyway, this particular trivia contest is directed to my good friends on the Stanford Facebook page, and I like to talk about the lost city of Stanford. We've got some marvelous historians in Stanford. Dan Burke is one who does not like to be called a historian, but I call him one. Ron Marcus at the Stanford Historical Society is magnificent in the history of Stanford. He lives and breathes every moment of it, and just a fine guy and just a treasure trove of information. But I am not going to try to pretend to be either one of them, but what I am going to do for this trivia contest is I've got 3 pictures from what I call the lost city of Stanford, 1960s pre-urban renewal. And if you know the answers to where these locations are, we're going to show these on the air. You can get us at our Twitter page, or our Twitter feed, or whatever you call Twitter, at PM Coast to Coast. That's at PM Coast to Coast. Or you can answer on our Facebook page. What we're going to do at the end of the show is go back and see, maybe we'll have an announcement of the winner at the end of the show. And we'll see who the first person was with the most correct answers. And I'll contact you, and we will make arrangements for you for free lunch. $50 limit in the place of your choice. So with that, Mike, we would like to show picture number 1. You have to tell me where the location is. This is 1 of 3. And we'll wait for Mike to get that up in the air. And I think we're still waiting. Now here it is. If you can tell me the street location of that. You don't have to be precise. You could just say that's blank near the corner of blank, and that will be acceptable. Believe me, I actually remember these places, so I'll know what you're talking about. So this is picture number 1. We're going to go back and we're going to show these pictures again. So with that, we will now show picture number 2. And we're waiting for that to come into the feed. And we are still waiting for it. Here it is. Mike's like, come on, you got to move it along. I'm waiting for a picture. So, now, again, the street, the approximate location. If you can tell me where this is, and if there's a wonderful treasure trove of these pictures at the Ferguson Library Archives. These are the pictures that the United States Department of Urban Renewal took before Stanford was more or less, whatever you want to call it, changed beyond identification. That's number 2. And we have our last picture. 3 in a series of 3, and we're going to get that up here in a minute for you to see. And I find this to be incredibly, incredibly fun. I can actually remember sitting in a lot of these locations as, my parents were in the stores doing something. I used to like to sit in the car and play the radio and listen to WABC or something like that. So this is location number 3. These are all taken about 1965, 1966. They're 50 years old, maybe a little older, a little newer, but those are the 3 pictures. We're going to show them to you again. Picture number 1. Again, we're looking for approximate locations. Where was this particular situs that we're showing? Way back when. And Mike is doing his best to get that back to us. Okay, here it is. Here's picture number 1. Where is that approximately? Make sure you tell me. Again, it's going to be the best of 3. The first person with the best of 3. And then we will move along to picture number 2. In the same sequence, these are the pictures of the Department of Urban Renewal of the United States government on or about 1965 or 1966. And we'll move along to picture number 3. Actually, this is kind of a new thing for us. And we're doing quite well with it. You do these things, you don't know how they're going to play out on the air, but it's a lot of fun when you actually see them happening. But there it is. Mike came and gave the monitor a dirty look and it popped on. Okay, that's picture number 3. So the answers, you can answer on our Facebook page or on our Twitter feed at #PM Coast to Coast. So with that, we're going to be heading out in a bit, and we're going to be coming back with a commemorative piece on Yogi Berra. $50 if you know where that thing came from. Back in a moment.
Yogi Berra is smarter than any pirate man. Yogi Berra knows in the
Last week we were saddened by the death of to me, just someone who had been there my entire life, for all my years on earth. Yogi Berra had passed on at the age of 90. Yogi Berra, D-Day veteran, Yogi Berra, Yankee ball player, coach of the New York Mets, the first base coach for many years, later the manager. At one point the manager of the New York Yankees, managed them 2 separate times in his life, in 1964 and then in the 1980s. He managed as a very young, recently retired player, tried to come back with the Mets. That didn't work out. And then it became Yogi Berra as cultural icon, pitchman, if you will. His very good friend growing up in St. Louis, Joe Garagiola, a man whom I'm admiring for years and years and years and years, in many, many respects, had more or less taken Yogi and made him into a cultural icon, an art form. And Yogi was famous for his yogiisms. And actually, Yogi Berra, he and of himself he was not a funny man as such, but he would say things in a funny way that were so obvious that you would start laughing, and yet there was a hidden wisdom. It was absolutely unbelievable. But Yogi Berra was laid to rest today in Montclair, New Jersey, and all of us are a little saddened by that, but all of us are truly happy in knowing what a great man he was and what a great ball player. The most World Series rings, World Championships, you name it. And I met him several times, and just as humble as can be, and just a remarkable person. And when you saw him, he was short. He didn't particularly look like an athlete. If you got close to him, you could see his arms and his shoulders and say, yeah, I can understand, why you were such a good hitter. He was a notorious bad ball hitter. He really didn't care about the strike zone. He'd say they'd all look good to me, and he'd swing and hit the ball wherever. But just a remarkable life. And when someone like that leaves us, I feel like we have to commemorate it as well. We should commemorate it. But we were led in by the Yogi Bear theme. Yogi Bear was a cartoon in the 1950s and 1960s, inspired by Yogi Bear. From what I understand, he wasn't crazy about it at first, but because it kind of portrayed his character, if you will, to be dumb but yet sly. And Yogi was not dumb in the least. Yogi was incredibly astute, but never went to school, but yet had more honorary doctorates that you could shake a stick at. But what we've done here is we pulled out some commercials and video pieces of Yogi commemorating this by some of my personal favorites. And the first one I'd like to show is from a movie made in 1962 with Cary Grant and Doris Day called That Touch of Mink. And Doris' character finds herself dating Cary Grant, who somehow gets the seat in the Yankee dugout during the course of a Yankee game. And I chuckle every time I see this. So Mike, let's roll this.
Fight! Mike! Hurry up! Shake your head! Your eyeballs are stuck! When it was a ball, it was that far from the plate.
Little lady, will you let me umpire this game? You've been on my back all night.
Mickey, you saw that pitch. It was a ball, wasn't it?
It looked like it.
You're out of the game, Mandel.
What? Roger, how'd that pitch look to you?
It could have missed the corner.
You're out, Maris.
Yogi!
It's a perfect strike. The ump was right.
I don't like sarcasm, Barra. You're out of the game, too.
You can't do that!
Lady.
Where's the manager?
I think he's hiding.
Oh. Ooh. I didn't mean to get all those men through.
Passarella, for those of you who are really fine point antique baseball fans, Art Passarella was a major league umpire turned actor, and he played in a number of television dramas in the 1960s and 1970s. Was also the umpire for the original Home Run Derby in 1959, but I really get a kick out of that, and there you can really see Berra's personality. 1973, Yogi Berra was managing the Mets against the Oakland Athletics in the World Series. And this is a play I have watched for over 40 years, and I have to show it to you. I still don't see the tag at the plate, but yet it's something today that would be very dry and go on a replay, and we wouldn't see what we're about to see now, but here we're going to see Yogi fighting for his Mets in the World Series that won 7 games, and the Mets went down to defeat. So, Mike, let's roll this.
Third in the 10th inning, and this fly ball looks as though it will give the Mets the go-ahead run. But home plate umpire Augie Donatelli sees it otherwise, and Yogi and the Mets just go wild. Where's the taggy? To Mr. Barra. folks, and judge for yourself. But if you ask me, what the heck is Donatelli doing sprawled out on the ground?
Tommy Lasorda there is doing the narration, and he's right. What is Augie Donatelli, a venerable National League umpire, doing on the ground, trying to make this call? And Yogi just lost it there, and this is a man who rarely lost his temper, but that was a great series for those of us that remember it. There was a perfect game in the World Series in 1956. It was Game 5 at Yankee Stadium. And Yogi Berra was catching Don Larson, pretty much a journeyman pitcher with a halfway decent career when it was all over, but certainly not a great. One day, Don Larson came to the mound in Yankee Stadium and threw a perfect game against the Brooklyn Dodgers, and Yogi Berra is catching. And our very good dear friend Bob Wolf, a marvelous man, a dear man, somebody whom all of us have looked up to in years. I watched him when I was really, really small. And he's still active today, does the play-by-play here for the Mutual Broadcasting Network. So this is remarkable. We were able to come across it. So Mike, let's show this.
Larson is ready, gets the sign. 2 strikes, ball 1. Here comes the pitch. Strike 3. A no-hitter, a perfect game for Don Larson. Yogi Berra runs out there. He leaps on Larson, and he's swarmed by his teammates. Listen to this crowd roar. The first World Series no-hitter, a perfect performance by Don Larson.
What's so amazing about that to me is Bob Lazari and I had asked Bob Wolf, did you ever mention no-hitter or perfect game as you were doing this? And he said, heavens no, because Red Barber had done that in 1947 when the Dodgers were playing the Yankees, and it was the Bill Bevins game where Cookie Lavagetto won it on one swing. The no-hitter, the game, and everything went with one swing in the bottom of the 9th inning. And he said that the Red Barber kept saying, there's a no-hitter going, there's a no-hitter going, and the Gillette Safety Razor Company, who was the sponsor of the game, absolutely became livid at Red Barber. So Bob Wolf's never, ever, ever let on directly to say there was a perfect game taking place. Today, if a pitcher's scoreless after 2 or gives no hits up after 2, they're already talking no-hitter, but yet pitchers don't complete the game anyway these days, so what difference does it make? Here is a commercial to get the real character of Yogi. Yogi is advertising a product here called NP27 for athlete's foot, and this is Yogi doing Yogi, and nobody does Yogi better, so Mike, let's roll this.
If you have athlete's foot, here's what you should know. NP27 aerosol is a modern product, specially made to fight the germs and relieve the itch of athlete's foot. NP27 contains a germicide, works as a fungicide, and a fungostat. In short, NP27 works to relieve the discomfort of athlete's foot. If it didn't, I wouldn't tell you that it did.
If it didn't, I wouldn't tell you that it did. I mean, that's classic Yogi. And he really became such a great commercial pitchman. So it's absolutely amazing what this man was able to do. Here's another commercial. Back when electric scoring was something big at bowling alleys, the AMF Magic Score, Yogi is doing a commercial for that. Mike, let's roll this.
That's what's so great about AMF's new Magic Score. Magic Score does all the ripping. Just punch in your name at the beginning and bowl. The screen even tells you when it's your turn and which lane to bowl on. Magic Score. It makes bowling more fun for everybody.
You knock them down, Magic Score hangs them up. Magic Score from AMF.
And that's Yogi Berra doing Magic Score. On top of everything, Yogi later in his life became As Dave Kaplan, who was a friend, the director of the Yogi Berra Museum in Little Falls, New Jersey, and one time I asked Dave, I said, what does Yogi think he is? This is back a few years. Does he think he's a philosopher, a historical figure, a retired manager? And he said, no, Yogi just thinks he's Yogi and doesn't really see what all the fuss is about him, and it's also true. But we cannot forget the type of ball player and the great ball player he was. So I did dig out an introduction from Old Timers Day, one of his last at Yankee Stadium in 2012. Michael Kay did this, and Yogi's getting on in years, and he's in the car. He's not able to get out and acknowledge the cheers anymore, but just to show you the impact this man had on baseball and could rock a house to this day, I pulled this out so we could see it. Mike, let's show this.
To the American League All-Star team in every season from 1948 to 1962. With 14 appearances in the Fall Classic, he has played in more World Series than anyone in history. He's in the top 10 in most Yankees batting categories. Is a 3-time most valuable player. He was the catcher for Don Larson's World Series perfect game, and his 10 World Series championships are the most in baseball history. By now, you know who he is. Number 8, Lawrence Peter Yogi Berra.
Yogi Berra, a life well lived, born in 1925, died in 2015. What can you possibly say about the impact this man had on all of our lives? But we are grateful to have known him and to know him in so many ways as he acted throughout his life. First as a ball player, then a manager, then a coach, and finally as himself, which may have been his best act of all. Not that any of it was acting, it was genuine Yogi. With that, we're going to be coming back after our commercials with the Virginian, James Drury. Yes, right here on Coast to Coast. Thanks for staying with us, folks. We'll be back to you in a moment. We got the fame for the Virginian playing, and we have the man from the Virginian here on Tony DeAngelo's Coast to Coast. A gentleman whom I interviewed about 1.5 years ago and honored then and doubly honored now, James Drury. Mr. Drury, how are you? How you been?
Well, we're doing just fine, thank you. Everything's going along very well. I'm home this year off the road because my wife has got some health problems that I've got to take care of and help her with, so I've been home all summer and I haven't been out on the road, but I've had a lot of real good comments from people all over the world wanting me to come back out. And of course, the main thing you have to remember is to take care of the people at home, so that's what I'm doing. And it's been a great summer. We've got a lot done here and a lot of progress on her behalf. So I'm very proud of that, and I think we'll get better and better as time goes on.
Well, that's great, and there's many of your fans are listening and watching tonight, and we love your fans. I mean, because they love you, and it's one of the easiest things to interview you because there's just so many good things to talk about. And our mutual friend Karen, your assistant, told us about an appearance that you're going to be making in April 22nd to the 24th, 2016. Now, get this, folks. 9 other Virginian cast members will be with Mr. Drury at Cowboy Up for Vets in Swanton, Ohio. Can you tell us about that, Mr. Drury?
Yeah, that's a wonderful event that we've been having for about, I think this is the 6th or 7th year that we've had it. And I started, went to the first one and went to almost all of them except the last year. This last summer I couldn't go. Last spring I couldn't go because of Carl Ann, my wife. But we think we'll be able to swing it this spring, and it is going to be the largest collection of repeated cast members ever assembled in any of our reunions. So it's going to be a big time thing, and I hope people will come from all over the Northeast and get a chance to meet us and visit with us and talk about the old show and so forth. And it's for a great cause. It's to benefit veterans families in that area of Ohio, and we've raised a great deal of money over the years to the families and helped a lot of different people. So we're real high on it. They had a great year last year, and I'm hoping for an even better year this year. So we'll certainly hope that anybody who's listening can get up there and see us. Swanton is just a suburb of Toledo, and if you find Toledo on the map, go about a half an inch west, and you'll see Swanton there, and that's where we'll be. So I'm sure there'll be plenty of promotion about it, but if you want to learn more about it, just go on the web and go to thevirginian.net, and then all the information is there.
Well, you got some good Cowboys there. They're going to be following. I have no concerns about that whatsoever, Mr. Drury. They'll certainly follow you. But I was, in thinking about this, and we're before different people in the nighttime slot, and we're in the morning slot. And one question I didn't ask you the last time was, if you had not been an actor, what do you think you would have done?
Well, I don't know. I started acting when I was 8 years old, and I was always just fascinated with it and studied it all my life, so I was not really prepared to do anything else or ever wanted to do anything else. But in the course of an actor's career, there are many, many dry periods where you can't get a job. And
right.
I worked at all kinds of things. I've driven a cab, I've worked in restaurants in various capacities. I've sold all kinds of stuff. I've sold insurance, and I've sold cars, and I've sold everything, and worked here in Houston. I was really involved for a while in the oil field industry and in the insurance field, and so I've just done all sorts of things to keep body and soul together. But my main profession is that of an actor, and I don't know what I would have done or been happy doing if I hadn't had that certain calling to go forward with that profession. It's hard to tell, but I would have done something, I'm sure. I had a couple of times during the early years in California when I had vowed that if I didn't get something going pretty quick, I was going to go back up to Oregon where I was raised and go to work with a portable sawmill company that was owned by a cousin of mine. I almost did. I was ready to leave, and that's when the Virginia came up. So these things, there's a fate to them, and there's a flow to them, and you just have to go with it. When it comes up, you have to be ready. And I guess I was. They let me know on the Friday night, along with Doug McClure, on the Friday night before the Monday morning we started to shoot, and we did it for 9 years, and then it was over. So that's kind of how things happen in the motion picture industry. But I don't regret anything. I'm delighted that I got to do the wonderful roles that I did get to play, and I'd sure like to play some more. But that's you can't expect very much at this age. However, Sir John Gielgud was working in 97, and I'm only 81, so I may get a job here sooner or later and be able to do some more acting. I hope so.
Well, all your fans, and if you have a question that you'd like for us to ask for Mr. Drury, you can Twitter us at hashtag PM Coast to Coast or on our show Facebook page, because you always have a marvelous set of fans that follow you. I was reading about your grandfather, And he was a real-life Western man, from what I understand. He was an influence on you, a very strong influence with respect to Western acting?
Well, he certainly taught me all that I know, or all that I started to learn with about horses and cattle and livestock of all kinds. He had come west with a wagon train when he was 17 years old, or 16, from Missouri. He was born in Kentucky and raised in Missouri, and he came to Oregon with a wagon train and became one of the Oregon pioneers. And he had been a dirt farmer and a cattle rancher and a cowboy and an Indian fighter and done all those things. So I learned about all that at my grandfather's knee, and he taught me to shoot, he taught me to fish, he taught me to hunt, and taught me a lot of things. So I'm eternally grateful to him, and I have more or less used his character, or the kind of man he was, as a template for the Virginian. Because when I started to do the Virginian, I had a blank canvas. I had what Owen Wister had written in 1902, but there was very little detail about what kind of a man he was, or what his basic character was there, but how he reacted in specific situations. And so I kind of thought, well, what would Grandpa do? And that kind of became the way I put the character together, and the way you see him on the screen now. So I owe a lot to my grandfather, and of course we all owe a lot to our grandfathers if they've been around us very much and helped us. So I certainly owe a lot to him, and I think about him all the time. His name was John Hezekiah Crawford, and he was a great, great guy, and a hard-working man, lived to be 97. So I hope I picked up some of his genealogy.
We do too. We do too. And the amazing thing when you talk about the Virginian, to me, at least from what I'm reading, this had to be the most grueling show shooting schedule probably ever in the history of entertainment. Can you tell us about that?
Well, it was an awful lot of work. We certainly had to shoot at least 10 pages of script a day if we were going to get and keep on our schedules at all. And we tried to shoot 10 or 12 pages of script every day, and sometimes more, sometimes less, but we just had to keep working around the clock to make our air dates. In fact, it took us 8 days to make one, and we ran out of them every 5 days, so we had to run multiple units quite a few times. I had one particular day where I worked in 5 different Virginia episodes in one day, and we had 5 units going on us because we had to keep up with our air dates. Every Wednesday night, the air date would come up, and we'd have to have a show ready for it. So you couldn't dilly-dally, or take any time. You didn't get very many smoke breaks, let's put it that way. You had to do everything on the fly. We had to go over a line to learn that late at night, and then get up very early in the morning to get down there. I was usually at the studio by 6:30 or 7 in the morning, and sometimes we'd shoot till 9:30 at night. So it was an all-day job, let's put it that way. But we had a wonderful time with it. No one ever complained about the schedule, and we just rolled with it and went through it, laughing all the way. So that's the only way to get through something like that. And we were having a great time, so it made it a lot better and a lot easier.
Now, I'm curious, when you're watching a Virginian and you're watching an episode, and you're watching yourself in a particular scene, does whatever you want to call it, the backstory of that scene come to you as far as what you were doing before that scene, after that scene, or I don't believe this ever, we ever got this done, or or is a lot of that, since it was such a grueling schedule, sort of blended into context, and maybe you remember things that were, major events, but maybe not all of them. I'm just curious to see what you may be remembering from the shows that you filmed.
Well, I think as I watch a show, I begin to see talk about an actor named Kevin Kaufman, who was in a show, in a Virginia show called Last Spring at Socorro, with Steve Lynap playing the lead villain. And I'm anxious to see, because I haven't seen it in years, and I'd have to talk about Kevin, and I remember some things about him, but I know I'll remember a lot more about him after I've seen the show. So that's why I'm watching that one tonight. And we'll see what it triggers, but I'm sure I'll remember most of the show after I see the first few sequences. And looking forward to doing that later tonight.
That's fantastic. Now, in your career, it's it's sort of a who's who as to whom you have been credited with. At one point, I think I recall you might have met John Wayne. Is that correct?
I never actually met Mr. Wayne. I was going into the wardrobe department at Paramount Pictures one day to get a fitting for some show, and he was coming out. He had his whole retinue with 10 or 12 people, and he was in his Alamo outfit. I guess he'd been in the wardrobe department getting something done with a costume for the Alamo. And he was talking to people and very much very valuable about what he wanted to do and where he was going next and all that, and giving instructions to certain assistants and all that. And I didn't get a chance to say, "Oh, Mr. Wayne, I would like to," but I just stood there and all I watched him go on. That was the closest I ever got to him, but I certainly was a great admirer of him and his work and all of his motion pictures and the things he did. And I was very flattered to find out through a mutual friend that he watched the Virginian when it was on the air and liked it and never missed it. So
that's quite a tribute.
A compliment for the Duke. Although I never met him, I appreciated watching the show, and that was a great feeling to know about that. And that's about as close as I ever got to the Duke.
That's quite a tribute.
A lot of people who work with him, and a lot of people who knew him and spent a great deal of time with him. So I've been fortunate to hear a lot of inside stories about that over the years. And I'm real happy about it.
Yeah, and I guess at one point you'd work with Loretta Young?
I did work with Loretta Young in one of her television shows early on. And she had, I guess it was called the Loretta Young Playhouse,
right,
or something like that. And she did an anthology show, and I got a chance to work with her. But we had who's who of Hollywood come down to the set and work on the Virginian with us, because our writers could write big, important, juicy guest star roles for men and women. And when they saw those roles written out on paper, they wanted to play them, so they came and did the show. And we every week we'd have somebody wonderful to work with. We had George C. Scott and his wife Colleen Dewhurst, and Joan Crawford and Betty Davis and Ralph Bellamy, and the list just goes on and on. We had Robert Redford at one time when he was starting his career, and Harrison Ford played a role in the Virginian when he was just starting out. So we worked with a lot of people that had become famous, and people who were famous at that time for their performances. And so it was a great thing. Every morning I know I was going down the hill to work with somebody just grand, and naturally we had to bring our game up to match them, and that was what we did every day, and it was a great experience.
And it's when you saw these actors, these great actors, I mean, was there ever a time when you said to yourself, I'm really here with Joan Crawford, I'm really here with some of the others you mentioned, and did you have to shake yourself?
Pretty much, or give myself a good pinch, because it's hard to believe that you'd be working with all those people, but I was extremely thrilled and happy to do it, and I wanted to take the opportunity to give them as much support as we could, and come up to their level of playing and all the scenes we had together, and that's something you have to just work at all day. So that's what we did, and it worked out in most cases
It's an amazing legacy now. You like to talk about your co-stars on the Virginian, and the last time I had you on, you shared some thoughts with those who.
What's that again?
You like to talk about.
Hold on a second.
Sure.
I gotta turn this phone off.
Okay.
Got it now. Yeah, go ahead.
You like to talk about your co-stars on the Virginian, some that are still with us and some that have passed on, and we get new people all the time. Can you share a few thoughts about the people you work with on the Virginian?
Well, of course, the attitude before was the co-star in the show, and he carried a lot of shows himself. He was a very fine actor and leading man, and very, very funny, great playing comedic roles, but he could play serious roles with great skill and great efficacy, and he did a combination of things on the show, but he just said it was an all-around great talent, and it was just a pleasure and an honor to work with him for those 9 seasons, and the other people in the cast that we had come and go, we had great experiences with all of them. Roberta Shore, of course, only stayed for the first 3 years, but she was a wonderful bright light in the show, and then we had some great young ladies that came in after her, Sarah Lane and DeAngelo's took over those places, and they both did very well in taking over those situations, and that spot in the show. And we went through an awful lot of people after we lost Derek Clark. He only stayed for the first 3 or 4 years. He was a great talent, and is a great talent. But he had left the show for one reason or another, and we had David Hartman at one point came in and took that part. The guy that went on to be a great talk show host. And
yes.
We had what's his name? I can't think of it. Played the sheriff, the deputy sheriff. He was a great addition to the show. He's a wonderful, imaginative actor with great charisma and a tremendous approach to acting, which he has an acting school in California, and he trains a lot of people on a monthly basis, and I'm sure does very well in teaching the art and craft of acting, and he's got his own unique point of view about that, and I always was very honored to work with him, and I think just a whole bunch of people came in and worked on the show. We had Don Klein, who was very, very interesting and very good to work with, and he's still with us, and we'll be up in Swan. And we had Randy Boone, who's just a very, very unique talent with his musical ability and all of his country style. So we really made good use of all the people that came through the show, and the only ones that really lasted the whole 9 years were me and Douglas Moore, and we went through it from the beginning to the end, and we're very, very happy we could do that. Of course, I missed Doug a lot. We lost him in '94, and he died way too young, but he's no longer with us. But he'd have a great time with these reunions we're having around.
I'm sure.
And they would both be enjoying it. So I think about him when I'm on the road.
Yeah.
Wish that he'd be there with us.
And I can only imagine you must have had some episodes filming with animals. It might have been a couple of horses getting loose or something. Anything like that you could share?
Well, there were always minor skirmishes and minor problems that came up from time to time, but we never had any real bad accidents or anything on the show. No one ever got seriously injured. Horse work was extensive, and we had to work with the horses all the time, and we did everything we could to keep everybody safe in that regard. But there were people who got sprains, and I don't think anybody ever broke a bone or anything that I know of. I remember one time we were in a fight with my stuntman, his name was Gary Combs, and we had rehearsed the fight with him playing my role, and then I stepped in and did the fight, and he took over the role of the other guy. A motion picture fight is choreographed like a dance, and you make a move here, you make a move there, and one guy makes one move and the other guy makes another.
Right.
Well, I made the moves as I had thought we had rehearsed them, and I apparently was one move off, or Gary was one move off, because he hit me in the side of the head, in the temple, so hard that within 2 minutes I had a bump there the size of a golf ball.
Oh, my dear.
And we had to shoot from the other side of my head for the rest of the week until that bump went down. He hit me like a Missouri mule, and I saw stars, but he felt terrible. He wanted to stop. And I said, go on with it. You hear it in the other end of the film. I said, go on with it. We went ahead and got the master shot, and then we could come in for close-ups and so forth. And I wanted to get the master shot so we didn't have to wait over and do it again. But it sure did smart. When he hit me in the head, it was totally unintentional. He just said what I should have been tagging, whichever was off. I don't really know whether it was my fault or his fault, but in any case, one guy moved the wrong way, and I got hit. But it was just a total accident, and it was something we were able to cover for and get the master shot, and then we got some of those close-ups. I think we had to take a week or so later because of the swelling in my head, So,
well,
things like that happen, but very seldom. We planned everything out, constant awareness of and striving for safety at all times, and we did a damn good job, but we didn't really get anybody badly hurt.
Well, for certain.
Bumped up, but nothing that sent anybody to the hospital that I know of. So,
they talk about.
We're very lucky. We could have had a lot more injuries, but we didn't.
They talk about don't watch law being made and don't watch sausage being made. I guess, don't watch pictures being made either. I guess it's really something. And this is, in our closing moments, what do you endeavor the enduring quality of the Virginian to? Why are people still watching it? Why do they follow you? What do they see in these shows that really we don't see anymore? In your estimation, what would you say, Mr. Drury, as to why people are still following the Virginian?
Well, the show has a sense of majesty of its own that we never really were aware of when we were making it, but it has a long-standing strength, and I think the strength of it is the fact that we were showing the various members of the Frontier family and the people that work for them striving to do something very important in the Old West, which was feed the East. And we were raising cattle on a 500-acre ranch up there, 500,000-acre ranch in Wyoming, and sending our beef on to the people of the Eastern Seaboard and trying to fulfill a need, which is really what the cattle industry is all about. And I just always tried to represent the working cowboy, and I've been told by working cowboys that I did good, that I did represent the working cowboy. So we kind of try to keep us as true to the principles of how that would work, how you would make a ranch like that work and be profitable, and still keep the extreme warmth and loyalty that we had with all of our cast members as members of that family. And I think people react to that. I think people like to think about people doing something industrious with great adventure and great danger and jeopardy to the cast members of all the different adventures we go through and see us come out on the other side. Western is a morality play. It must show the triumph of good over evil. And I think we did that handily every week. And the
Well, and I'm doubly grateful having the chance to interview you once again. And believe it or not, we're out of time. And Mr. Drury, there's never enough time. We have announced your, and I'm going to announce this again, and I'm just going to go back here in my notes. On April 22nd to 24th, 2016, Mr. Drury will be with 9 other Virginian cast members at Cowboy Up for Vets in Swanton, Ohio. We're following you on Facebook, and we all know where to find you. And I am honored, sir. Continued health. Best to your wife, and thanks so much for being on our humble show tonight. I'm deeply touched and very much appreciative.
Well, thank you very much, Tony, and I want to mention one thing before we go. At Swanton, we will have many, many performances from a group called the Black Swan Bandits, and they're a body cheating organization from Ohio that do shows all over the world, but they are really fast and really accurate, and they put on a great, entertaining cowboy action shooting, mounted shooting show.
Man.
So that's something that everybody will be able to enjoy if they come to Swan.
And that sounds wonderful. Godspeed, Mr. Drury. We'll talk soon.
Okay, thank you, Tony. Bye-bye.
Bye-bye. And that was the legendary James Drury coming around 3rd and heading home here on Coast to Coast. We will be right back at you. The Near to See You, Rick Nelson, one of my favorites, and we'll be closing out and heading home. Thanks for staying with us. And the man, Frank Sinatra, sings Softly As I Leave You. I will leave you perhaps not softly, but I am talked out. Special thanks to Lee Cluck, Kevin O'Malley. We do not have a trivia winner as of yet. We're going to tally after the show, and I certainly will let you know if you are the trivia winner. And ultimately, our special guest, James Drury. And remember, keep that dream alive, because if you stop dreaming, then the nightmare begins. We'll see you in 2 weeks for another journey on Tony DeAngelo's Coast to Coast. Thanks so much. Thanks for being a friend and a fan. We'll see you in 2 weeks. Take care.